Hey guys, thank you very much for joining me. Polina here. It's nighttime, talking to you a little bit about the new moon on the 11th of May in Taurus. It's very suitable actually to do this kind of work at nighttime, so very happy to be channeling for you at night, which is not something that I usually do online. Okay, so the first thing that I'm picking up, and I've been picking this up for quite a while, there's going to be a political change, and I'm feeling that we might not really know it until about September, but there's going to be some very big things in the mix. So I'm picking up also because of this month being the way that it is, and we have an eclipse by the end of it, which usually affects us for about 3 weeks because eclipses come in two. We have first a lunar eclipse and then we have a solar eclipse, and also the time building up to the eclipse is going to be a little bit difficult for some people. And then also the time after the eclipses as well sometimes can be a little bit demeaning. So I'm kind of feeling there is kind of a lot of stuff happening at the moment. I'm not going to say too much. I'm just going to say that there is going to be a political power change that is going to take shape right about now. So maybe there is already something in the mix. I feel that since April there was something quite maybe difficult to understand that was going on with the political systems and the powers that be. And then it feels to me that by the 20th of May, we might already have a very secure knowing or like a feeling of what that is. And probably the global picture isn't going to entirely change or alter until about September this year. So it feels to me that there are things going on. And we have to be very, very proud and gentle with ourselves and our loved ones. I don't feel that this is a good time to rock the boat or be anything at all. I feel that the best thing to do for us at this point is to just basically keep safe and keep on doing our work. So the things that you've already kind of started to do in Aries are fine. Things that you're going to do maybe are already seen, or maybe there's things that are already taking care of themselves. Maybe there are people that are already taking care of themselves, or they are seen as something that is going to be probably a part of your life. So the main thing for us basically is not to freak out if we want it all or if we don't want anything that we've ever done. So the main thing basically is not to let the ego speak right now, because that might be under the knife in a way by the end of the month, because we have a full lunar eclipse happening on the 27th. So by now I'm noticing with me and a couple of other people that I know, there is a change in the air, and there is kind of a feeling of being very free or being very fresh for some, and for some people that can lead to actually like danger and damage later on. So the main thing basically is not to treat things lightly, and not to be there for people that are not there for you, not to scatter your money, not to be also afraid of the world either. It's kind of like a very tipsy-turvy kind of timeline right now for us all, and I feel that we have to basically be exact. If you can, check out your things, like check out your accounts, see what is happening over there. If you're doing any kind of work, try to get exactly right on what you're doing. If you are doing anything for people, if you are presenting anything to the public, if you are making anything for another person, if you are in the mix, in the works, in the know, please understand that you have to have very good know-how for anything that you're doing. You have to understand where you stand. So for example, if you don't have enough expertise, or if you don't have enough money, if you don't have enough connections, or if you don't have enough holistic worldview, there needs to be a very, very, very strong center point to anything that you're doing now, and also anything that you're going to do. So the main thing that I'm kind of like wishing I knew, wishing I knew more like previously, is that we have to prepare for a certain type of change. Some people have to prepare for a certain type of punchline in their life. Some people have to really, really understand which way they're going, because this is going to be, I feel, an amazing change this month and the next as to how we're going to operate as people and as a society and as a humanity. And I also trust that not many of us really know what we're going to do. And that is absolutely okay for us now as well. So if you're one of those people that is just like not aware how you're going to actually turn that passion into money, or how you're going to make this life that you really want to make, the best thing that we can basically do right now is just take care and stay in tune. So, one of the greatest, loveliest things that can happen is by design, by just a simple connection, by just some very simple steps, very simple words, very simple people actually in this world, we can start to stick together quite a nice community. And we can also start to take care of ourselves and each other, and we can start to really work it. I believe that a lot of us do need a friend. I believe that many of us definitely can't really do it alone. We cannot any longer stick it out just for the fun of it alone. And we have to basically be blessed. So to choose is better in packs and groups. You know, if you're going to do anything, and also if you are going to manage anything, if you are going to create anything, or if you're going to be somebody or with anybody, I believe that the best thing that we can do right now is understand the greater whole and also keep the world in mind. So we can't just right now choose things willy-nilly. You know, sometimes people just kind of like put their finger anywhere in the globe and that's where they're going to go, or people are not really sensitive enough or maybe comfortable with the world enough to really achieve well with their concepts because they're not really connecting to what other people say or what other people are doing. And sometimes the best thing that we can do is have a holistic approach to anything that we're going to do, especially noticing the people before us and those that are going to come to come after us. So, for example, if you are in a line of people doing a certain type of job or you're offering a certain craft, understand what is the nature, the culture, and the connection point for that. If you're going to do anything with another person, if you're going to make anything count, if you're going to now design something, if you're going to make anything true, if you're going to commit, if you're going to draw up a plan, if you're going to change a picture, if you're going to start a new job or anything like that, one of the greatest things that we can do now is keep our finger on the pulse and understand what is right or what has been right before, where we are as a community, where we are as a people, where the world is going. So the main thing basically that I'd like to also outline is that we're not just going through a change, we're going through an epic crisis and we're going through maybe one afterwards. So the thing is that we're not really meant to be pulling ourselves up only and stepping on other people's heads. We can't do with certain craft now, certain community type or a certain way around just doesn't stand a chance. And we have to also understand which way we're going to push or which way we're going to work it after this or that ends. And sometimes this is not really about the government as much, it is more about the communal connection and the force, believe it or not, within us all. So right now we don't have to blame anything that is outside of ourselves, that is external. It is just basically the global overall. And in the pig year, it was very, very good to come to terms with things when we were going through the pig year and to understand your family and your whole life. You know, this was 2019. And to understand your culture and to understand your baggage or your karma or the family predispositions, everything like that. And then we had Red, and Red had to find things and understand things better and take things through into the next realm or dimension as the first sign of the Chinese sequence. And now we're in Ox, and basically what we have to do is understand how to keep things secure, and also we have to know what to do in any kind of cataclysm or a certain type of situation. So at the moment, I'm feeling one of the greatest things we can do is keep ourselves connected to one another and get ourselves together. It feels like a very, very nice moon and a very nice stellium. We have to be very certain about our craft. And I feel that we have to be very, very on point about what we're going to present, do, or inform people about. So this is not just about, hey guys, I thought this would be cool to do. We can't just do this right now. It has to be very, very right. And for some people, yeah, the sky is sure to support them anyway. So there are some people that are risk takers or that are basically creating a lot of fluff, or they're working in the realm of fluff, and they can still kind of get it going on. But to me, the best point here is to understand the longevity and the mission and the vision and the culture of what you actually have in mind. So, for example, because new moons are always about starting something up or being open to a new version of something. So, For example, okay, if you are going to make something good, okay, please consider the root system from which it comes, the traditional way of doing it, also what you're trying to do now, which is maybe many times more vast or different, or maybe it is appropriated. Something about you might not really want to do things like they've been done, especially if you're seeding something during this time. There could be something very new, very up and coming about something, and the culture and nature right now supports it. So, in some ways, in some many levels, in some societies, people are wanting to hear from you if you've got something new coming through, if you are interested in creating something that has never been done before. That is fantastic. But I'm sorry for sounding a little bit like a university teacher, like a design teacher, but like consider when you are making something during this time, if you're putting something together, if you're putting your life together in a new way, trying something radical. We do have a very strong Uranus in the sky, still relatively close to the sun. We have to really, really understand how we're going to pull through. So, for example, you're going to make a brand new version of a brand. Okay, understand the brand, understand from where it came, how people have associated with it before, understand the culture and the history of it. So, understand the root system of anything that you're applying yourself to, and the greater context also. And with that greater context in mind, it perhaps will not be so polarizing to experience these very shining and radical lunar eclipses and solar eclipses that we have coming up as of the 27th, 26th, 27th of May. So the best thing basically that we can now do is basically prepare for that. So how do you prepare for any kind of upheaval? How do you do? Okay, so the best thing basically that I'm offering you here as advice is time and common sense. Okay, so that's the best way that sometimes things can be done. So, for example, um, deal with your previous work, try to deal with your previous clients, the previous database, make sure that your conduct is strong. If you are a teacher, you're a visionary, make sure you know what you're saying. If you are with certain people, you have a certain pact in your life, if you're in a marital bond, anything like that, make sure that everything is very crispy and clean. If you're not really sure how to do this, basically you can ask myself or anybody else with the know-how to help you basically organize your life and bring things to a nice ultimate state. So it's like an ultimatum. It's a nice state of ultimatum. So for example, one of the ways that you can help yourself is through tidying up your house, understanding what you have, realizing your affairs, understanding your affairs. Also, if you have a marital life that is not very well define, do you have any kind of messes in your world? I would suggest having a very timely spring clean and having a very nice spruce while you can, so that when this moon comes by the end of the month, you don't suffer as much as some people might. So there is a very, very big crack in the system. There's a big shift happening right about now. And also before the moon is going to broaden our views of ourselves and really get us there or get us out of certain pictures or get us away from certain people, there needs to be a very, very nice and a still knowing of where you're at. And also I have to tell you a little bit about Uranus. And not a lot of astrologers know this. So because I feel astrology, maybe my perception is a bit different, and all of my work is based on channeling. So okay, so Uranus doesn't work how we think he does. We think that Uranus is a very, very powerful and kind of like a messy sign, and this planet, makes all these changes and all these abrupt shifts. But here is the thing, inside of Uranus is a very, very big center point for anybody with a strong Uranus in the chart, for example, on the ascendant, in the first house, up in the MC, next to the moon, next to the sun. You probably already know that there's some things you just cannot do until you're ready. You can't just force it. So something about Uranus that I have to bring up here is that he kind of already feels and knows what's up. And as things change, as things come into their own natural tides, he creates a meticulous amount of resonance and energy in order to create things anew. So one of the powerful things about Uranus, especially as we have him in Taurus, is the stillness and a knowing and a resonance and a way that one manifests through first self-connection and self-association. And also Uranus to me is a big sign of self-forgiveness and a realization. So it has to be realized. Previous patterns, previous ideas, previous sequences have not really got any chance if you don't have them secure. So they have to be very fresh and understood. And in that previous background, in that previous baggage, in that previous knowledge, in that previous dimension is the key that actually makes things go really fast and look like they were made out of thin air. So sometimes we look at an improvisation artist, be it dance or be it music, and we think, wow, how can that person make so many beautiful sounds? Or how can this person create so many alternative, like fresh new ways, new ways of being, new ways of filling up space, new ways of dancing, new ways of taking care. And the reason why a person is a very good improviser sometimes, or a very good scientist, or a very, very good blogger, okay, or a very, very good computers person, or just very good designer, very, very good mind for that. What makes a very good mind is because they're very, very learned and knowledgeable. So their previous baggage, in a way, or their previous treasure of who they are has already been gained. So they already remember how to do it because maybe they've practiced their instrument for such a long time, or they have really already mastered traditional dance. So what makes a person improvise very well is the fact that already they know their way around sound or the different types of formulas because they have been through them all. So this is what it is about. This is what it takes during this time and to some degree during this month. To really, really get yourself together is basically you have to really put things together, know where you come from. You really got to know your stuff. You got to be able to understand what you're providing to people now. You have to understand who you are, where you're coming from, what is the culture of your job or your affairs, what is the guideline beneath the certainty that you're now experiencing, what are the cause and effect ways in which some things can be done, where are those traditions coming from, what are those traditional ideas, and then from packaging in a way or packing it all up, you have to basically understand where it's going to next be. So just by associating with yourself and your current now, wherever that might be, just by understanding your current job or your current employment or your people or the person next to you, you might already start to greatly improve your world. So the best I can say is, okay, we're in a weird kind of like place right now as a people, as a culture, as a history. And one of the greatest things I can share actually about travel culture and about being on my own for such a long time and stuff is that I've come to really cherish and know where I'm about as a whole. And I've come to really understand also the debris and the bric-a-brac that sometimes people or I myself may have previously carried around. And the main basically thing is to understand what is gold and what is not. It's like telling what is real and what is fake, and making these real vibrations, almost like these real veins or these real feelings, these real frequencies, take care of you, like helping them have um, the better view, helping yourself also understand yourself better through what you now know or may have to understand that you have to value now and take further into the next phrase of your life, and where you now cannot stand. And why this is beautiful is because maybe even before we go into this very harsh eclipse by the end of the month, very dark for some, even though we're gonna go through a very light sign of Gemini, it's gonna be a very, very strong, controlling push. South node, north node illuminated. It's going to be a very, very strong and very holy, essential energetic change for the whole world in a way. We've got to basically make it through, and maybe by now already understand in a nice sense of sobriety and calmness what you should and shouldn't take care of, who you are with, and what you cannot maybe any longer fulfill. So that is something a little bit difficult for some of us, as in some people's lives it is kind of like a lie over a lie. or a state of dependency over a state of dependency. So it's not very easy for a lot of us to just walk out there and say, right, I got it. I now understand what I need. Or I am now plugged in and I understand who my people are, or like where the pressure of my life is, or where the story of my life is going. There's not that many of us that can fully understand and vibrate that right now. But what we can now do is to some degree satisfy ourselves in what we already have, who we have around, and what we already know successfully and soundly. So we don't really have to over resonate with ourselves as some people might, because we have Venus close to the North Node, and that really evolves the ego for some, or that plunge. I think that the main thing basically is to satisfy ourselves in the simple things that we do have, and understand what may be now of mission or of vision, but what we now maybe don't have to go through. Maybe we shouldn't have to reach for certain things. Maybe there are some energies that we don't really want to claim. We have Mercury next to the North Node also during this time. Maybe there are some things we're speaking of, we are taking care of, we're involved in, that are not really radical enough, or they're too wild to help us out later in life. And maybe there is something that we don't really have to know, or we don't really have to connect to, and we still are. So there's a lot of tidying up, basically. I have to underline this. Tidying up that I trust we have to know how to go through and eventually succeed in, just so we have a very nice time in order to organize basically and align, and also to a degree self-respect. And I trust that a lot of respect of the new upcoming events and the people in our lives, and respect of different types of things that could be coming through, and a help, and a help and a kindness and a cooperation that we really need during this time is going to come about as we have our own things together. Like a great example, sometimes people that don't get enough rest in their world, like they don't get enough rest in their lives, and they get very mad and they get very angry and they get very unkind sometimes with other people. All they need to do is just get enough sleep. Okay, so it's kind of like that. Or like some people that are very, very emotional sometimes just don't know what is going on, and they haven't yet put themselves right. So to be able to better withstand any storms that are coming up to September's end, and also ongoing global storms around February next year, I trust that the best we can do right now is basically to just self-become, and to some degree on a personal, private, spiritual, relationship level, or just any level, get very clear about who we are. And then later on, this pattern is going to reveal itself throughout our lives, because it's the lucky thing about this particular Taurus ending in a way, as we're going to be on the 21st degree of the sun. Is it's going to help us in a way survive in a certain field, is going to help us understand our marriages, is going to help us understand our work. But the way that we can do it better is to be sensitive still, as well as to understand and have our ear to the ground to a degree. And on some level, I feel that we have to really combine with these truths and these very wholesome things in our world in order to better understand ourselves. And these patterns that we're already setting in and we're already set up by the end of Aries to a degree are going to stay and offer us more and more. If they're going to last by the end of May, I congratulate you. Also, I have to say that some of that which we might be sprucing up and getting to know or wanting to respect or resonate with might not last, and there might be a whole lot more happening than we know underneath the surface. So there are going to be some digging up elements, like some sort of things coming up from the ground by the end of this month, and I trust that there's going to be some very strange and estranged times for a lot of us, for many of us. And I trust that on a level, even though we might be putting things together very well and understanding the world anew, some of that might also self corrupt. And that I think we all have to understand. So there is like a self corrupting essence that might be taking us somewhere by the end of this month and by the beginning of June. So although we do have a very lucky time, we have a north node at the moment illuminated almost by Venus, and everything seems kind of fine, and it looks like everybody kind of wants the best for us, and at the end the story is going to grow beautifully and be told. But first we have to kind of face the grim reaper of the moons. And because of that, I think the best way is just to humbly work through your world. And although I understand some people are now evolving themselves or what they think is true for them into these big flamboyant billboards and messages, and some of us who haven't done very well in Pisces or Aries may want to do that because there is a grandeur that was kind of left behind. I do believe that even with those people, there's going to be a taking care, and all of these patterns maybe we will keep. So there's sometimes these parts of the world, parts of the wheel, as we're going through time, that offer us help. And sometimes that help is just a momentary kind of delight. And then sometimes we have these giant wheels or larger, more economic and more self-sustaining energies that can actually work with you for quite a long time. So if something gets taken out by the end, don't worry. If you have a project that goes bust, or if you have a relationship that cracks, don't worry, because the happiest way to see it is that nature is trying to basically rub away any kind of unconscious waves that might not be really with the time, so they may not be fully self-sustaining later. So if anything or anybody falls or cracks in your world in the next while, there is a good reason for it, because also we are making a very nice pattern as from the end of the previous month, and some of us are going to also be able to keep it, which I think is a really good thing. So, for example, you've never been able to sustain your yoga practice. At the moment, it's very easy to sustain your yoga practice if you want to sustain your yoga practice, okay? And it makes a pattern later on in life. If you really, really care for somebody and you're starting to teach each other really beautiful and holy things, it might also stay. If you can sustain it as a pattern naturally, organically, and globally, it is a very big question a lot of us have. Will it work? Will it last? Will this take a fall? Will this be damaging for me? And the way that I'm seeing it is that there is like a mightier world than ours making some calls. So to me, it looks like, although maybe it's not all that we want to be and all that we want to do, there are greater powers that are going to be, in a way, choosing things for us. This is not like some kind of like mythical fairy life sort of thing. It's more like there is an overall collective of essences that is to a degree choosing things for us, through us, and before us even sometimes. So in a way, all of this which we are about to understand is powered by a global will and a fortification of all those lives and energies that are going to also come upon this earth eventually in time. So we're not just singing our own tune, we are singing in the universe at large, and the universe is contributing to the song. So we're not just kind of like sharing our own ideas on life and wishing to perfect our own worlds. We're actually sophisticated enough now as a global overall being to fortify the greater universe, which means that the timeline within itself is now going to start to become a little bit more global and overall, rather than being just about that person doing that cool thing that they're going to do. And that means that we have to understand that on some level, certain people are very supported and very brilliant in their way. And they're just roads opening and opening and opening for them, simply because, in a way, their fortification of the next vibration or their future version is in alignment with what the overall wants to achieve for itself. And that there's a bigger meaning. So something that you're going to do later might be upon the shoulders of what you are creating now. So that means that it's very important to use your energy kindly and lovingly, and not to fall away from the overall. And I also have to just say one more thing. And once again, Venus next to North Node. We sometimes fall away because we go into these different fantasy worlds, and sometimes people want to create that of themselves or another that is not entirely fortified by the all, and is kind of living a separate or separatist reality, or lives within a cocoon of itself. Therefore, I would suggest getting a reality check with pretty much anything that we're going to do here, and anything that we've ever done. And also for those of us that are finally turning their life mission into a job, or some kind of a sense of greater power, if you are finally working with that soulmate, if you're finally working with that wonderful friend or group of people, I congratulate you, because maybe it's been a long time coming, and you probably don't even need this reading, don't maybe even need to hear this if you're one of those people. So thank you very much. Enjoy, and I will see you next time. And also, if you want to check out my website, you can get a reading with me this month. I'm very organized and clean, and I've replied to all my emails, so I won't just leave them there. So thank you very much for being interested in my channel. If you like, you can subscribe, and also check out the links below. Thanks. Bye.